What's up, guys? So I just came across this study and I would love to share my insights. So, effects of early treatment with ivermectin on patients with the virus. And so I see this paper. I'm interested in this because I may or may have not used this intervention before on people. So I come on, and a lot of you know, especially those who are close to me, I love researching, figuring out what the heck's going on and trying to get a clear and concise idea. And I try and steel man both sides of every argument, right? Like if I'm going to use this intervention, all of you guys who know you do TRT or peptides with me, I'm like, look, these are all the benefits. These are all the side effects. These are things that, we got to weigh these out. So diving into this paper, I see, okay, handful, a ton of authors, right? So, wow, it's got 22 references. This is the New England Journal of Medicine, which is a pretty prestigious journal. Right, so we have background, methods, results. Usually most people start here. To be honest, I already kind of know what this is about, so I'll go to the conclusion because I want to know what I'm trying to be, what point these people are trying to prove. Okay, using ivermectin did not result in lower incidences. Okay, so this paper is basically saying ivermectin isn't going to be worth the time to use for the virus. And then I work backwards. Okay, so what are the results? Okay, so we had 3,515 patients, and this came from a double-blind randomized placebo-controlled trial, which is one of the gold standards in Brazil, 12 public health places. And so I kind of like jump back and forth. I'm like, okay, so right, first off, I see patients who had symptoms for up to 7 days. So does that mean you guys waited 7 days to intervene? Because the virus does most of its damage in causing of inflammation the first several days, almost always. So, and we've known this. This is 2022. Okay, so at least one risk factor, primary outcome. They're looking at hospitalizations within 28 days. So it's like, okay, this person has a symptom, 7 days, throw some ivermectin at them. Let's see what that does in the next 28 days. And so we come down here and we see that they had 679 patients take it. 679 took a placebo, and overall 100 patients in the ivermectin group, 14% had a primary event outcome compared to 16% or 111 of the placebo group. I don't know if I learned that math there pretty good, but when I look at that, I'm thinking, okay, I already see a difference right here, but they said did not result in a lower incident. So I guess they just don't think 11 people are that important, because I thought we were all about this idea that every life matters. And again, this is 3,500 people, but let's just say that let's just take a step of on dubious speculation that if this was, instead of 3,000, it was 30,000, right? Then we have 1,000 patients in one group, and then 1,100. That's a big number. But when we're talking about this virus being millions, so if we're able to have a 1.5% difference, that's not worth looking at. I mean, I don't know. But again, hey, let me hold my thoughts, and we'll go through the basis of the paper. This is just a summary. The 211 primary outcome events were hospital administrations. Okay, the dose, blah, blah, blah. All right, so usually I'll come down here and this is just going to babble about what's kind of going on here. It's used for scabies, blah, 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 randomized trials saying it's safe. It's very debated what it does. Okay, what did they do methods wise? I kind of already explained this randomized controlled trial, blah, blah, blah. It tells you a little bit about the patients, what is a risk factor, diabetes, hypertension. I usually kind of look at this. I just kind of skim. Dude, if you're reading 5 to 10 papers a day, and again, I'll come back and reread something if I talk to another doctor who says, well, I looked at this and I found this. Like I go back and look from papers, old ones, especially in TRT. But I'll scoot on down here and I'll get to the point. I like looking at tables. I'm a graphs kind of guy. So secondary, you can see these in your primary outcomes. We already talked about, the differences in them. And so this one's just the characteristics of the patients at baseline, effects of it related to hospital. So we can see these numbers a little bit better here, right? Where you have 679 and 100. 679 and 111. Okay. Oh, my little head's here. Gotta get out of here. And then the one that I found interesting is when we get into this. Okay. So again, here's the breakdown of the group and what happened in those 679 people. Viral clearance at day 3 versus day 7. Pretty similar, statistically, talking. But so hospitalizations, we had 79 versus 95. Again, I think that's pretty significantly different. Median number of hospital days, very similar. Median number of days in the hospital, similar. You can make an argument for the placebo here. Not a whole lot. Deaths, we go from 24 in the placebo to 21. 3. Again, I think that's a win for ivermectin. Median day of randomization and death was similar. Ventilation use looks lower in the ivermectin group. And then we get down to how they graded the adverse effects. Actually, the placebo was 12 on grade 1. Okay, but then you get to the next one, it's 76 versus 49, 41 versus 50, 17 versus 18. Like, I don't know. Like, someone can correct me here. When I look at all this data, if I know ivermectin is safe and I don't know why I wouldn't at least use it if it's safe and cheap. So I just wanted to share this stuff because when you get these papers, and then again, you can come in here and I'd say next thing you look at the discussion, and they basically just take an argument for what they were saying. They show you the sources. Well, this is what these people say. This is what these people say. And then past that, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but my next rabbit hole is like, where did this funding come from? Supported by Fast Grants, Rainwater Charitable Foundation. I don't know who that is. I don't really want to dive into that on this video, but then you can see the author's affiliations, right? So like, where are they at? Is there an agenda that for some reason we wouldn't want to use really cheap drug like ivermectin? Maybe there's an agenda for that. And whether or not people want to admit it, we all have biases. I have biases. So, and I'll be first in line to admit it. So anyways, I just wanted to share this. And anytime you see like an article or a headline, or you read, like, one of the main mistakes I made early on in my career is just going to conclusions. Like, I'll be going through articles and I see, oh, early blah, 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 treatment did not result. Okay, see you later. I'm like, no. Let me go in and let me kind of look at this myself. And it's like anything. I'm not a PhD, and you can make arguments for whatever. I think that's a logical fallacy, which is appealing to authority. Anyone can become based enough to understand anything in life. God gave us that gift of intelligence and logic. And there are plenty of people who, they get stuck in their pattern and way of being, and then they view things through a certain lens. And then you have someone that actually comes outside of the field, right? Like, I think the MRI was invented actually for something in NASA, and they found out that, we can use it to diagnose, musculoskeletal issues. So just my little rant there. And then, again, you can find things on both ends. Here's another ivermectin study, systematic review, meta-analysis. This came out last year. And again, you just kind of the same thing. You come in here, well, what's the conclusion? Okay, modern evidence that large reductions in COVID deaths are possible. Okay, using it as a clinical course may reduce numbers. It's low cost and safe. Well, so you can find articles that kind of say whatever you want, but again, you would want to dive into this. And I did, and I like this paper a little bit better. So I'm biased. So again, guys, when you're reading papers, you hear things, I always encourage everyone to think for yourself and dive in and look at kind of what's going on here. So I hope this information was useful. If you have any type of feedback where I'm reading the paper wrong, or p-values, or clinically significance, or relative risk versus absolute risk, and you want to dive into the comments and give some feedback, or even come at me, and I'm cool with that. I like dialogue. I like learning where I'm wrong. And if I read this paper wrong and someone can give me some feedback, I'm all about that. So I hope this information was useful. Until next time, stay vigilant, my friends, and God bless.